Gonçalo, what about you? Tell us a little bit about the BGI that you represent. And also Lisbon has a unicorn factory. That is something that you work with as well. Tell us about Portugal's initiatives related to startup that have helped you recently solve the current issues.
Thank you very much for the invite to be here today. Pleasure. First time in Lithuania, so very happy.
Congratulations.
So Portugal is a small country, like Lithuania. So we are in the edge of Europe. 10 years ago, nobody would know Portugal for startup and innovation ecosystems. So today we have over half a dozen of unicorns. Unfortunately, those unicorns are not yet in the agri-food space, so we have a lot of work to do. We have to work better. Yes, we are improving.
How many unicorns have you got in Portugal?
7 right now. Most of them are in fintech and marketplaces and online digital software and agile software and so on. A lot on, software intense companies. But we are seeing this year we launched an initiative with we are hub managers for Portugal, EIT Food hub managers we have been for a few years involved. We are co-partners, and we launched a report, a scale-up report to understand what was the ecosystem producing in the agri-food space. And we found that it's still very much infant. So what we found 10 years ago in the innovation entrepreneurship ecosystem in Portugal, it's pretty much kind of a parallel with the agri-food. So what we are trying to do, we launched in 2017, we launched an agri-food accelerator in one of the most rural regions in Portugal. There was high unemployment. There was a lot of unused fields, so agricultural fields. And I think this is a very interesting experiment, Augustus, for you, because today we are kind of a victim of our own success. So there's no housing available. And people are not moving there. We launched a not-for-profit organization, Food for Sustainability, focusing specific on net carbon zero food systems. And at the moment, people want to move there, but there's lack of internet connection, there's lack of housing, there's even lack of workers at the moment. So we have kind of a lot of scalability infrastructure to work.
But there is something being done about those challenges, right? Construction companies want to build new houses, and the internet providers go there and fix everything. I mean, you're a bit more relaxed in the south.
It's a lot happening. Don't take me wrong. So it's good things happening, but when we think about rural development, we have to think about scalability. And how to scale these experiments, and that is I think is kind of there's a software and an hardware angle to it, and we need to take that into consideration when we talk about these rural ecosystems. Gusta's focused also on the housing and all these aspects. I think they are very good illustrations of some of the challenges we need to overcome. But good news is that today there's no land available, so all these agricultural fields have been taken up. We have attracted more than 100 million euros in 5-6 years, which is fantastic. And I think these experiments can be scaled up across Europe.
And that's good. That's why you're here, to share the good example. But if you had to describe in one word, what is the key to success of that accelerator, of that particular event, what would that be?
One word? Municipality.
Okay, 3.
Municipality was key. So involving the right stakeholders. When we have trust in each other, and there's a kind of a long-term vision, we can work. I mean, privateers and the empresarios can work in making these ecosystems strong. If there's like no political will, no kind of motivation, then it's really hard work, and you don't see the results coming up. And then, of course, it's this as we were saying, it's all down to people and hard work.
So electing the right mayors is the key. Mindaugas, you wanted to comment?
I would like to elaborate a little bit on the topic. As an agri-food representative here, directly from the business, let's take Lithuanian economy. Food sector is very noticeable and important for the country. For example, in Lithuania, it counts around 4% of GDP, and then more than 1,000 companies established around here, more than 40,000 jobs created, etc., etc. And then if we go to the startups, to the newly established companies, the entry barriers in food so low. Everybody can start the business tomorrow. I mean, making something with food. In the end of the day, when we start counting success stories, we don't have it. If we, as you said, in Portugal, here in Lithuania, the same, we have technology, tech companies really making success stories globally, but we don't have in food, it's very scattered.
But why? Where is it when it breaks?
Two simple things. One is the knowledge, and this is, I believe, one of the missions and the possibilities for the startup village. The knowledge generally, how to start, what to do, and then another story which is more difficult and will take more time, elaborating on your example, it's infrastructure. I mean, if we take food safety, which you mentioned, which is the key in the end of the day, then the veterinary requirements for any small entrepreneur or the big company should be the same, because food must be safe. On the other hand, how you will be growing your business from the little to some, sustainably to noticeable amounts, you need warehousing, you need software, you need hardware. In the end of the day, you need to ensure a logistic chain that from your countryside products would be delivered to the cities, and independently, one by one, those little small companies, they will not manage. So two things: knowledge and then infrastructure. Infrastructure in specific regions must be built. I mean, talking about also about labs or specific small-scale production established, so people can gather and then they start.
But shouldn't it be vice versa? You first have startups, and you have a startup accelerator, and then you get people moving to the region, and then this is when you build infrastructure, or not?
Well,
but we have people, we have initiatives. We don't fuel them enough so they grow and bloom. That's the question, in my understanding.
You wanted to make
it's just that, as you mentioned, that we want to make them bloom. I think when we look at the whole food value chain as a whole, the thing is that it is very scattered, but it is also scattered from the value perspective, meaning that where is actually the added value, where is it? At the same time, we see food producers like farmers. We see also food producers, that is obviously really equally important. Then there's a distribution, and then there are like consumers. I mean, what I would call for here, and also when it comes to rural areas, is obviously we probably need to create new value chains within the whole supply chain, so that it will also reply to this new need. I mean, whether it is bringing value to, let's say, the land of farmers, or, for example, producing, grains or materials for food production from regenerative agriculture land. So, is that agriculture land the same value as any land where we, for example, use a lot of maybe pesticides, we use a lot of chemical fertilizers? So, these kind of like questions has to go rather deep, I think, also in analyzing that, okay, where do we want to put the value? And it goes also on this startup village question that, okay, it's not to replicate the same model that we already had, because that probably will not work. But it has to have a different model. And these models has to be tested. Some of them are, but then overall, we are not yet creating or demonstrating the value of throughout the whole value chain.
I want to turn to Liene now, who has joined us online, and thank you for that. I hope you have been able to follow the discussion a little. You have a good overview as a European Innovation Council board member. You have a good overview of how the concept of cross-sectoral startup ecosystems is taken up and being implemented in the European Union member states. Would you give us an overview? How are we doing?
Thank you so much for having me, and it's good to see familiar faces also on the panel. About the EIC, I would say that this program is still young, so we are just having our own learning points about what's happening in the startups. But what I want to highlight, and we need to understand the startups to really survive, it's about also investments, and it's the really important topic in all science-based startups, especially also in agri-food. And if we look in investments, how it had been like since EIC comes in the market, so the investments are something that startups are struggling with. And in long-term investments, we need to understand also that these startups who are starting something, they will not become mature in the first year, maybe not only in second year, and maybe not in fifth year. So this is about how we deal with that. And Europe, in this sense, are with low risk investment. So it's AIC changing the game. We looking at this breakthrough technologies, breakthrough innovations with a high risk, and we comes in and give this security for other investors that this technology are safe, and we see the potential and the long-term potential. And I believe this is something that we need to think about also regarding the startup villages or other initiatives. It's how we can help startups survive, because the percentage of the survivors is extremely low. It's 2, 5, maybe 10% that survive after 3 years of running. And this is where should be involved governmental instruments or Europe instruments, that we put all that together and also educate not only startups how deal with this investment side, but also how investors should deal with the deep tech startups. So that it's and also what was mentioned about the unicorns, and the unicorns in the deep tech, there is not so many of them also in Europe. So I believe this Startup Villages as initiative is a learning and knowledge transfer that already was mentioned in panel, and I'm really glad to hear that we're talking about this knowledge sharing, that we think about common goods, common infrastructure, maybe common resources. Also, as one of the resources is the knowledge, right? So that we sharing how to do the things in one another sector, how to survive, how to reach the clients, how to reach investors, etc. This is something is really important, that we not competing with each other, but we give us strength to each other, and then it gives a common value also for the Europe and all the like a startup ecosystem itself. So this, I believe, would be a very important topic, that this resources that we have them enough to support the startup ecosystem in a long term.